Hello and welcome back to the Bite-Sized Spiritual Learning channel. I'm Helen DaVita, and today I have some thoughts on healing. And healing in itself has been something that's been a big part of my life and my learning, and perhaps the same for many of you. Now, I've been exploring different healing modalities since my early 20s in particular, and we're talking about complementary healing rather than medical healing, so it's very important to make sure we clarify on that. And I've been fortunate that over the years I've been able to travel a lot and explore lots of different modalities and try them out. And I think every form of healing has its merits, primarily because the intention is there, and whichever way you go about it, it isn't so much that it's better to use this or do that, or say a prayer or use a crystal. It's that intention to heal is key to all the different methods, and I'm not focusing today on any particular method, rather than over the years all the different forms of healing that I've studied, I've practiced, the things that are in common. And healing can be very, very simple, of course. Healing, we don't need to complicate it. And some methods have become very complicated. And I should actually clarify, I'm talking about healing methods that don't use anything that you ingest or any herbs or oils in particular. There's a different science behind that, even though there is healing. And yet, at the same time, they can be combined with the more spiritual and energetic forms of healing that I'm referring to. But, overall, if I look back over the years and I look at all the different systems of spiritual or energetic healing that I've learned, there are some things in common. And I don't want to complicate it, as I said, because if you look at some of the great healers, perhaps if you look at the German healer Bruno Gröning, in his case, his healing channel was very, very powerful. And it was just very simple. He knew it was something he had to do, and he would just to say, love God and trust me, and amazing results happened. If you look at some of the other healers, trance healers, then I've personally seen and experienced and been not just witness to, but worked with people in trance healing where the results speak for themselves. We've seen test results before and after, and there's an amazing video on using the voice with Greg Braden, and it's about chanting a healing chant. And the patient has a tumour, and they have two MRIs, one that is showing the tumour before and one that shows the tumour at the start, and then the healer's chant, and you physically watch as that tumour disappears within minutes and the person no longer has a cancerous tumour. And if you want to watch that video, just search for Greg Braden and patient tumour. That will come up in the search results, and that's really worth watching. So what we're saying, I guess, is there are many, many different approaches, some simple, some more complex, and all using different ways of reaching what we hope is the end result, which is in healing and at least an improvement in a person's situation. And so I've just put this little infographic here, which helps me clarify some of the things that are happening when we're engaged in a healing system. And of course, if we look to the left, of course, we've got the healer. And the healer has a direct line to the patient. But if we were to put all these things together, for me, and it could be quite different for you, of course, but some thoughts are we work with the power of intention. So when we sit for healing, we're working with the power of intention, which is a whole subject in itself. And it's not just I want to heal this person. Part of the intention is feeling that it is happening, it is being. And so we're setting a powerful intention for the healing act to take place. And once we've got that intention, we might even look at attunement. And there's many methods of attuning. And what do we mean by attunement? It's about us becoming attuned, becoming harmonized with that beautiful state for healing. And of course, the patient, attuned to the patient and attuned to the life force that is the basis, or the energy that is the basis that is going to be how we heal. And the methods vary. So in attunement, one way that works very well for me is to focus on the breath. I do transcendental meditation, so sometimes I'll bring in my mantra just to attune myself to the situation. And of course, nature's a great way of becoming in touch, if you like, with the soul and with everything. The life force that flows through us, around us, is in everything. And that's the force that heals. It heals on an energetic level, on an emotional level, and it's wonderful. But then we would take that attunement to the patient, and in that attunement we'd be creating an intentional bond. Now, it's very important for those of you who are spiritual healers not to get that confused with linking into a patient, where you could be working psychically and even magnetically. And what I mean by magnetically is the energy that flows through you to heal is coming from your reserves of energy, and that would be magnetic healing. It's important that the healing flows through you from an inexhaustible life force that is not going to actually deplete you of your own reserves. So you're creating that bond with the patient, and that can be very much on a mental level, or it could be, if you're working with energy and auras, it could be an encompassing and a blending and a harmonizing with your patient. For many people, this happens automatically when you meet them. You know, would you like to come in, sit down, and little explanation about what you're going to do. And you've formed a relationship already. That can be your attunement to the patient, the bond. But there are many, many ways. As I said, we're not looking at one particular method. Another thing that comes in sometimes with the healing, so we've bonded with the patient, are healing tools. And it depends whether you work that way or not. Some people use crystals, and some people will use sound, tuning forks, crystal bowls. Some people will use colour and actually bring in colour in lots of different ways, for example. So if you use any particular healing tools, this is, you know, perhaps the next step. If you don't, that actually is fine as well. I work as a sound healer and a colour healer, but it very much depends on whether I feel drawn to that being the right way. With sound, there's a lot of science, and perhaps we'll do a little bite-sized video on that. But if you don't need to use healing tools, of course, and the healing tools can be part of the intention anyway, but some have a more scientific background to them. And so if you're healing with healing tools, you're going to want to bring those in. And then we work with the source. Now, that could be the divine force, which you may call God, or it could be, if you're a trance healer and you've attuned then into the trance state, you've taken yourself into trance, you're going to invite your spirit doctors, your healing guides, to join with you. So there's going to be a point whether you work with guides or whether you work and just become a clear channel for this life force to flow, where you have that attunement, that connection with the source. And then what you'd be looking at is flow. So you'd really be wanting to be a clear channel so your mind didn't interfere. So you didn't accidentally slip into the magnetic healing I was talking about earlier. And you take yourself into the healing state. And this is a lovely place where you sit, you let go, and you let this intelligent life force, the energy, do the work. And you're simply being in harmony with the healing and letting it happen and not trying to control the situation. So those are some musings, some thoughts on what's actually going on when you're healing. It's not definitive, and you may have lots of different ways and lots of different ideas, but they're just a collection of thoughts about processes within healing, regardless of what form of healing that you are actually interested in or you actually practice yourself. So, thank you. And if you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel, click like, join my mailing list. But the next one coming up, well, we'll just see what that's going to be. Thank you very much.